Hello YouTubers and our clients at InStar Alliance. This is the summary edition for this year of 2020. It's been a very unusual year to say the least. We're going to go and recap over the things that we discussed and why, you should work with us if you're here in the Washington, D.C. area. So the topic today is how to win in life through investing with InStar Alliance. Okay, first of all, let's discuss InStar Alliance. InStar Alliance is not an investment company per se. What we do is we connect the dots for people. We put people into different financial institutional programs so that they can build wealth and then reduce debt. That is our main focus. We're a Christian organization, in case you hadn't figured that out, watching all the other videos that we did. And last but not least, we try to change the mindset of people. The last episode that we had, pretty interesting episode because it basically covered the Federal Reserve and what it was. Very, very elusive central bank system that we have. Most people believe it's part of the federal government. It is not. It's never been. It basically was set up with a group of bankers. And these bankers were used because at the time, early in the 1900s, 1910, and even slightly before that, they were the 6 wealthiest men on the planet. And it's kind of hard to believe that all that was here in the U.S., but it was. It just was. They were creating the Industrial Revolution, and they were profiting from it. So we fast forward all the way up to 1980. And once we fast forwarded all the way up to 1980, we found that the entire system changed, and it became a civil war between the wealthy and the non-wealthy. Why? Because they built the infrastructure off the backs of the wealthy back in that time frame after Henry Ford built that car, and they needed infrastructure and roads and freeways. They wanted to connect all the states together and make it one big happy nation. They were paying up to as high as 90%. So there was some payback to come to this day. And the Federal Reserve, that centralized bank of independent financial entity that is a private entity, has nothing to do with the U.S., but most people believe it, as part of the federal, government. It's not. Wedded with Wall Street, and from there on, things went downhill for the average Joe. They kept losing their investments through options from 401k plans and IRA plans, which they set up. It was set up simply because there is no real, how shall I say it, retirement pension plans of the 50s. I guess that's the best way, easiest to talk about it. So what we try to do is we try to get people to realize that they're in a war. They're in a war for their lives. It's not just this pandemic virus. It wasn't just a war for the soul of the nation, because presidents have no control over the Federal Reserve. They can ask them to print more money, but basically they run separate from that because they're not part of the federal government. They're under their control. Most big, large banks control the world in different types of economy, especially in Europe. Oligarchs are in Russia. The Chinese Communist Party is a gigantic centralized bank. They control that population. I mean, it's, all over the world. I mean, the wealthy control the world. That's the basic line. They say the meek shall inherit the earth. Well, they're not going to leave you a lot to inherit because they would have taken everything. But I'm not here to dwell about wealthy people, otherwise I'd be kicking my own self in the butt. And I'm not planning to do that. However, what we do want people to do and realize is that there's options out here, okay? But you have to become less complacent. One of the biggest problems with the American public, and I say this to people who may be overseas that thought of maybe living here, they're very complacent. They're very predictable. They don't like change. They're lazy. And as a whole of a country, we need to change that. Just watching this presidential election that's in progress here, Um, you know, maybe a third of the population of the United States will even vote. The other two-thirds are too lazy to bother. Uh, Laziness and hedonism is a horribly bad thing. It's a sinful thing. Again, we're not talking about religion. We use religious and spiritual properties in regards to how we treat our clients and in regards to investing in general. We believe in fair play. No malarkey, as Joe Biden would say. But the bottom line is you are the only person who can make your life better. Okay? Just looking at some of the topics that we discussed over the last several months, and the reason why we did it is because of the pandemic. All the stuff that we normally have gone over, all this stuff is done over when, we're with clients. But we put it on, YouTube so that they can see it and they can understand it. Sometimes people need to wrap their head around it. We started off with pandemic investing, and we talked about introduction of what InStar Alliance is, which what we've done here now. Get a number 703-646-3941. Are there other companies like us? Of course. The main brokerage is out of Illinois, so obviously I would say yes to that. Probably 27 other different offices I'm estimating with their staff, just like we have staff. All in all, will they make a major change in people's lives? Some will, yeah, but most people don't want to make a change. And we're trying to talk to the 6% of the population that will. It's sad that it's that low, but it is. I had a second section in here, and it's kind of like a bonus section. It's how to make $1 million in your present income. That one we held. Why? If you work with us, then you'll get access to that. Masterminding your income, overcoming family and friends to develop a goal towards investing and handling your income was one of the episodes. Another one was thinking like a millionaire for success. Emphasizes power of thought, negative versus positive emotions, and it does deal with some religious backings because you need that. This country was great once and could be great again if we just somehow learn to get religion back in our lives. Again, not preaching. How to control your emotions while investing. After conclude the certainty and negativity, which we discussed in that prior chapter, we were decoupling you from herd mentality. Herd mentality is this. This is the American public in a nutshell. I hate to talk about my clients in this way, but until there are clients, then they're this. Bunch of sheep walking nowhere in life. Okay, sad but true. You need to get out of the rut. You can't go with herd mentality. 401ks, IRS, anything that's federal is herd mentality. Anything that's like working with a bank. We show people other types of ways to invest their money in their savings so that they can actually earn interest on it. I gotten something from my bank, SunTrust, the other day, and it said that their top producing savings account dropped from 0.68 of 1% down to 0.43%. It's only going to get worse. Why is it going to get worse? Well, it's pretty obvious. It's because of this virus. Virus is forcing people against their will, and I'm telling you, it's really forcing them against their will to relook at things again and maybe make a second adjustment on their life here and there. They don't want to do it. It's out of the norm, but it's happening. A lot of people believe that, hey, we're going to turn the corner. You're not going to turn a corner. Right now, I got a list here from yesterday. California, Idaho, Illinois, New York, Massachusetts, New Mexico, Colorado, closed. Texas is slowly re-closing the areas. We are right at the cusp of the fall season. And the fall season brings less heat, less thermal energy, less ultraviolet rays, less vitamin D in your system. I recommend people to get vitamin D, buy a big old jar of vitamin D. Usually, I recommend people to buy it in gummies. Again, we're not doctors here or pharmacists. We know the value of vitamin D. Google vitamin D and how it affects your immune system. Let's see what else we have. Arkansas, Alabama, North Carolina, Delaware, New Hampshire. They're on hold right now. They haven't decided what they're going to do. They'll probably go back into lockdown. Washington, Oregon, Arizona, Louisiana, Ohio, Maine, New Jersey, and Hawaii. Some of these states have just been recently getting to full open, capacity. The other states that are at open capacity, but they're scaling back as we speak. Why? Because the virus doesn't care. The virus doesn't care what you want. It's a virus. It's an organism. Okay? Take a vitamin D until we do get some type of, supposedly cure, which is really hard to do because it always mutates. Is it an act of God? We don't know that yet, but we'll know if it does. If I'm here doing follow-ups 2 years from now and it's still here, which it probably will be, I would say yes. Yes, it is. It's a pullback. That's what I call it. The other side of the coin, 18,000 restaurants were surveyed. Small, little, tiny ones. And that closed in March. Of that small, little, tiny ones, 18,000 have permanently closed since August 11th. 40% of the restaurants will go out of business without government help. Will we get the government help? Maybe we will, maybe we won't. It's hard to say because, it's a trickle-down effect, and we discussed that as well in the last week's episode. Outbreaks are restaurant dining. What does that mean? That means simply that when you take your mask off and start eating, then you're at risk. Okay? Moving on. Let's move on quickly here because we're going to break this down into 2 parts. How to improve your finances through positive thinking. This again talks about people stocking their lives and hold themselves more responsible for it. You got to step off the herd mentality. That's all I can tell you on that one. How to understand why politics affects in investing. Why? That's the number one question I get. Why does it affect investing so much? Very simple. The emotional mindset of the investors in Wall Street and the bullpen are swayed by things that happen in the current events. It's as simple as that. Okay? A lot of things that you will never hear that you hear in our stuff. And like I said, we will be coming out with, in 2021, a download that you can, read at your own leisure on any of your devices that will kind of outline all these different things that we talked about. And we will continue to make more episodes. Not this year, in 2021 we will. Be working on the dissertation to get that download done. To do that, then we'll go back to, along with working with clients, of course, and running a business, getting more episodes out that are helpful to people. But basically things that you won't learn, you will learn here. When you work with us, you do actually learn new things. We learned that the reason why they decided to leave the flights open, from the trade war with Trump. No Trump, we probably wouldn't have even had a pandemic. We learned that out when people that we have went over to China and learned it. We didn't get it directly from the actual regime of Xi, but we got close enough with other government workers, and that's the mindset. Right now, they're living a normal life again. We could too if we do contact tracing. Will we? Probably not. I don't know how we're going to get people to do that, but it needs to be done. It needs to be put on your phone. You need to kind of have some way of tracking the sick people, otherwise there'll be more sick people. So does it infect investing? Of course it does. By it infecting investing, every time that the Wall Street sees there's a large spike in cases, then the prices of the stocks drop. From there we went on after recapping that, why investing in 401 and IRAs is a felony against yourself. That one was a really interesting one because it goes to show you that by you being hedonistic, lazy, whatever you want to call it, creating your obesity, whatever you're doing and with your spare time instead of working on your own life, it created a place for people to invest money and lose money. And it's taken from you through options. Again, we talked about that in more things. What are options? Again, we talked about is what is an option of the stock market, how the government, savvy private investors take money away in a stock downturn. Mostly includes 401k and IRAs. So every time something happens, and it happens on the 7th and the 8th of each decade, something will happen, and then you'll lose your money. And then other investors will move in, and they'll take it. Like they took all the homes and the rental homes from people. And you'll get bankrupt, and you end up with $1,000 in your savings account, probably working the rest of your life, and maybe 60 to 80,000 left in the 401k what they haven't taken out from you. Whereas we have clients invest in stock and in different prices and different things that basically are solid. They're not tied to the market. They're private too, but they're not the private ones that are trying to hurt you. They're the private ones that are trying to help you, and that's what we follow in. So we stop now. I think we've been running for a little while. We're going to finish up in just a moment, and just bear with us because we're finishing up this particular season. Thank you.